All right, let's talk about the endocrine system. The two systems that are in your body that control most of the organs and how they function are the endocrine system and the nervous system. They work together to regulate the activities of all your other organs and all your other body systems. The nervous system consists of your brain, your spinal cord, and then the nerves that go out to your vessels and your muscles and your organs. The endocrine system is made up of a variety of organs and glands that secrete hormones. Hormones are chemical messengers that spread throughout your stream, and then specific cells in certain organs are receptive to those hormonal signals and then make changes in how they function in response to the hormones. It does take time to deliver hormones because they're traveling in your bloodstream, and it takes time for cells to respond to the hormones. But overall, the effect lasts quite some time. It's a long-lasting effect. The endocrine system is organized for slow but prolonged responses. In contrast to this, the nervous system is characterized by very quick responses that are short-lived. And we will talk more about the nervous system later. There are two general categories of hormones: peptide hormones and steroid hormones. The term peptide hormone is used to include hormones that are peptides, proteins, glycoproteins, and modified amino acids. An example of a peptide hormone would be epinephrine. Epinephrine binds the receptors on the cell's surface and then initiates a series of reactions inside the cell that will lead to a specific end result in that cell. Here's a diagram of what occurs when epinephrine binds to a receptor on a cell's surface. What I want you to take away from this picture is that it's like a set of dominoes falling, so each step triggers another step until some end result occurs in the cell. Steroid hormones are similar in that they all have the same complex of 4 carbon rings, and they are all derived from cholesterol. Only the adrenal glands, the ovaries, and the testes produce steroid hormones. You can see how similar these hormones appear to each other. These are all some of the steroid hormones. It is amazing how all the different molecules your body can make with basically the same building blocks. Steroid hormones are able to enter the cell on their own because they're lipids, so they can cross that cell membrane without having to bind to a receptor on the outside of the cell. Once they are inside the cell, then they do typically bind to a receptor and travel to the nucleus and then cause an expression of a gene. Remember, we talked about on your exam, there was a question about your somatic cells. Remember that all of your cells contain the full complement of DNA and all the genes contained in that DNA, but they don't express them all. Even those genes that are expressed aren't necessarily expressed all of the time. Think of it like your pantry. You've got lots of ingredients, but you don't use them for every single dish. Your cells have lots of options of products they can make, but they don't need to make all of them all of the time. So this is one way gene expression is controlled, is by hormonal signaling. Here's a diagram of what happens when a steroid hormone enters a cell. Notice that the end result is that transcription of a certain gene or certain genes, and then translation of those genes into proteins is what's going to occur. The primary organs of the endocrine system are listed on this page. Notice that several of them are in your brain, which reiterates the close association of the nervous system and the endocrine system. 2 glands, your thyroid and your parathyroid glands, are found in your neck. The adrenal glands are small bean-shaped organs that sit on top of and there's 1 per kidney, so 2 total. Your pancreas has both an endocrine component and an exocrine component. The exocrine component is the part that's involved in the digestive system, and we've already discussed that. The endocrine component of the pancreas deals with regulation of blood glucose levels. The gonads are the reproductive organs, and we will deal with those in more detail when we discuss the reproductive system. The hypothalamus regulates your internal environment, so the environment inside your body, and it does this through the autonomic nervous system. Some examples of what the system regulates would be your heartbeat, your body temperature, and then water balance in your blood. It also controls the secretions of the pituitary gland. One important hormone that is secreted by the pituitary gland is ADH, or antidiuretic hormone. ADH travels to the kidneys, and at the kidneys it will cause water to be reabsorbed and not excreted in the urine. As the blood becomes dilute, the ADH is no longer released. So the point of ADH is to help you concentrate your urine and to keep your blood volume appropriate. The release of ADH is inhibited by alcohol, and this is why you make excessive amounts of urine after drinking alcohol, and also why you can easily become dehydrated after drinking alcohol, because your ability to concentrate your urine is severely compromised. The pituitary gland also releases oxytocin, which is involved in the process of childbirth. The anterior pituitary gland, so the front part of the pituitary gland, releases other hormones that control other glands. Thyroid stimulating hormone, or TSH, stimulates the thyroid gland. Adrenocorticotropic hormone, or ACTH, will stimulate the adrenal cortex, so the adrenal glands. And then gonadotropic hormones, such as LH and FSH, will promote sperm production and sex hormone production. The anterior pituitary also releases hormones that don't affect other glands, they just act on their own. Prolactin is involved in milk production, and growth hormone will promote skeletal and muscular growth. And then melanocyte stimulating hormone, or MSH, will cause skin color changes in fish, amphibians, and reptiles. The pineal gland is also in your brain, and it produces melatonin, which is a hormone that controls your circadian rhythm, so your day-night, your sleep-wake cycles. The thyroid gland releases several forms of thyroid hormone, T3 and T4, as we call those, kind of as the shorthand version. And these hormones will increase metabolic rate, and they also help regulate growth and development. If you don't have enough thyroid hormone in your body, one of the characteristics of that is your metabolism slows down. So you tend to gain weight, you tend to be kind of cold all the time, and you don't have much energy. If you have too much thyroid hormone in your body, if your gland is making too much, the opposite occurs. So you tend to have almost too much energy. You're kind of jittery and nervous. You eat a lot, but you don't gain weight, and your heart rate picks up and is really fast too. The thyroid gland also releases calcitonin, which will lower blood calcium levels. The parathyroid glands they're tiny glands, and they sit on top of the thyroid gland, and they release parathyroid hormone, that's also called PTH, and that raises blood calcium levels. So in between the calcitonin, which lowers blood calcium levels, and the PTH, which raises blood calcium levels, homeostasis is maintained. The adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys, and they're divided into an adrenal cortex and an adrenal medulla. The adrenal cortex releases glucocorticoids. Cortisol is an example of that, of one of those hormones. And the glucocorticoids will raise blood glucose levels and stimulate the breakdown of protein. They also decrease inflammation. So if you have a pet that has really bad allergies, your veterinarian may have prescribed steroids for that pet, prednisone or something like that. And the way those work is they decrease inflammation. So prednisone is an example of a glucocorticoid. The adrenal cortex also releases mineralocorticoids. An example of one of those would be aldosterone, which will promote reabsorption of sodium and the excretion of potassium by the kidneys. Sex hormones that are released by the adrenal cortex will promote the development of the reproductive organs and bring about secondary sex characteristics. And the adrenal medulla secretes epinephrine and norepinephrine, which your body kind of secretes in emergency situations, but it raises the blood glucose level to give you more energy if there's an emergency, if you have kind of that fight or flight response. The pancreas secretes digestive enzymes, which we've already talked about, as well as two hormones, insulin and glucagon. Insulin lowers blood glucose levels and promotes glycogen buildup in the liver. Remember, glycogen is just the stored form of glucose in the liver. And then glucagon, that hormone raises blood glucose levels and promotes glycogen breakdown. So the glycogen is broken back down into glucose and kind of put back into the bloodstream. So those two hormones, between insulin and glucagon, your blood sugar levels are maintained at a good, appropriate level. So homeostasis, as far as your blood sugar is concerned, is maintained. The gonads are the testes in the male and the ovaries in the female. The testes produce testosterone, and the ovaries produce estrogen and progesterone.